The connection between Māori people and trees is very strong because Māoris are very much attuned to nature, attuned to the spiritual. Although it's a living tree, I'd pay homage to it by immortalising it in a sculpture or a carving. This is normally the type of tree that I would use to carve because of its qualities, because of its size. This tree in particular, it's native. It can withstand a lot more in the elements, and the grain makes for a beautiful finish. There's something special about native timbers. I guess it's the age. Some of the timbers that I carve, over 500, 600, 800 years old. That timber has seen time, it has seen mankind come and go. That's where the value lies. Tēnei taku karakia ki te tangohia rākau, e ihua, kaharawa, nau nei ngā mea katoa. The reason why we karakia or do a prayer beforehand is to pay homage for taking the tree where te timatanga me te whakamotunga o ngā mea katoa. I first of all pay homage to Io Matuanui, the creator, and to Tāne Ware, who is the guardian of the forest. Ko koe te timatanga, ko koe te whakamutunga o ngā mea katoa. Doing the karakia just clears the way to cut the tree down and clear the way for carving. Ai nei ake nei, āmene. Her name is Hine Te Ariki, who was a chief's daughter who, in times of war and peril, she used to roll boulders down on top of the enemy. We have many beautiful stories, throughout Māoridom that you never hear of until situations like this where I have to do the sculpture and the carving. Cutting lines into the bark and into the wood, basically it just gives me reference lines. You have to have a centre line which keeps everything in proportion. For me to get my levels and my lines, I have to block it out like a block man first. And then from there I'll start rounding everything. Most of the time I'm able to look at a piece of wood and I can see what's in it. Sometimes it'll happen straight away, and other times it might take a few days for that to come through. From the cuts I've made already, a lot has been revealed. I've put a cut down here for the front of the head. This is the side profile. So the head will be actually on a lean looking down like that because she was pushing boulders down. So from here, the figure will be looking down on that angle there. The more wood I take off, the more I can see. It's like peeling back, layers of an onion. Now I've made a cut off the front, realise that my centre line is out, so I can renew the centre line. So what I'm going to do now is I'll just go around with the small chainsaw, like a marker pen, and do some small cuts, just some indication cuts of where I need to do the heavier cutting out. My next few cuts will be into the backs of the legs here, right through, right across. So in there, straight through the chest there. Bottom of the stomach comes around here. The thighs around to the knees, down there. The arms and the shoulders here, which will come around to a hand. My ancestors were carvers, and my life was predestined. Carving is something that you get great satisfaction, great passion from. It's how I see life, it's how I depict things, it's how I tell stories now, and something that is going to be left behind for a long time to come. We can just swing. I've got it to the stage where it's blocked out, and now I'll start bringing it into proportion, and to get it to the stage where I can start designing surface decoration. Mainly the little bit of ads work to do for taking off bulk pieces, and then chiseling. I've got a whole set of 50 odd chisels I can use to start refining, start rounding, start shaping, so that it starts to look like what I want it to look like. Yeah. Rồi hop on my back, come on. Okay. Okay, see you later. I've had this ads probably for about 30 years, and it's done a lot of work. And just the same with my chisels, there's something that will stay with you for life. If my son or somebody else in the family wants to carry on, that these will be passed on to them. They can go on through the generations, because they'll last forever. That's why Māori bargained with the early Europeans over the metal, over the steel, because it was a lot better than the stone that they were using. Whakarewerua is the place where I grew up in. I've lived in many different countries and many different places around the world, but home is where the heart is. It's your foothold, and I just love it here. People pay thousands and thousands of dollars to travel here and come and see where I'm living. So I consider myself very lucky. Growing up in Whakarewarewa village was unique because of the tourism that we've been born into. When you're born into it, it's normal. That's why Māoris from Rotorua are such great entertainers, because they entertain the tourists. We have a river that runs through the village, and my mother used to dive for coins. They used to call them penny divers. Tourists would throw money into the river, we'd dive for the coins, put it in our mouths. That gave us money to go to the shop and go to the movies. Penny diving has been a part of tourism here for many, many years. It's part of why I named my art gallery Penny Haka Gallery. Between the 30s and the 50s, the kids used to do a haka on the bridge for a penny, hence the name Penny Haka. Using the chisel is where you get to design and you get to shape, and each cut will make a difference. Before you make each cut, you've got to make sure that it's not going to go too deep. Going too shallow is okay because you can take a little bit off each time, but if you go too much with one cut, then it's going to throw everything out. The Māori language wasn't a written language, so the only way to retain things was either by carving or by memory. Before we had pens, before we had writing pads, it was the only way you could record stories, myths and legends. It was the only way that you could create something that could be there for the future. Māori carving in days of old was a very taboo process. When a carver was carving a meeting house or eri carving, it would be a place where women weren't allowed to enter. It was also a place where smoking was totally prohibited, or the eating of food. And breaking those laws of tapu or taboo, sacredness, would result in very severe punishment from te ao wairua, the spiritual realm. Māori was so attuned to the spiritual realm, and that's how I believe we receive a lot of the art and things you see well entrenched in traditional Māori today. There was a chap by the name of Ruatapupuke who went down to Tangaroa. Tangaroa is the ocean, and there was a meeting house there. There he was held captive, and he managed to escape. With his escape, he was able to bring back some of the carvings from the meeting house, which he brought back to the physical world, or Te Ao Marama, which is our realm. That's where carving came from, and that's the sort of carving you see on most of the meeting houses around the country today. I don't think Māori carving will ever fade away. It is very much a strong part of Māori tradition today. There's always going to be somebody who wants something done the way it was always done, with a chisel and a mallet. It's unbalanced. Anyway, got to get it on. Got to get it right on target. Since I've taken so much wood off, it's made it considerably lighter. From what used to be 500 kilos is probably now down to about, I guess, 230 kgs now, which is using balancing techniques with the scissor lift. It's quite easy to maneuver and roll around. Today I'm just defining around the thigh area. I'm going to start defining the rock so that it actually looks like a rock. And once I've got it all in proportion, then I'll just start cleaning up with the chisel. The bigger the chisel, the more wood it's going to take off. The smaller the chisel, the finer the design. My large gouge helps me to sculpt, taking off large pieces of timber. The flat chisel is probably the next tool to start rounding off, because in Māori carving everything's organic, it's rounded, it's like nature. I would say I'm over halfway, and the face, I've got it to the stage at the moment where I can play around with it and make it look prettier or make it look meaner, just add a bit of character. Now's the time where I can start freestyling, trying out different things, especially with the hair, because I haven't predetermined what the hair's going to look like, so I'm just going to freestyle it, bit of trial and error, and see what looks good, what doesn't. There's lots of things I can do, make it long and wavy, short, tight, cropped, whatever. Carving has changed considerably from 800 years ago through to today. It's ever changing now, but we still seem to be using the same traditional styles and patterns. I'm constantly looking to progress Māori carving, and that might be in the contemporary sense and the more modern sense. Māori carving it's not everyone's cup of tea. From day one of carving, I always asked why we carve our ancestors looking so grotesque. In Māoridom, there's usually a reason for everything, and the protruding tongue is in defiance. The three fingers has many, many different meanings. You'll find each iwi, each tribe will almost certainly have their own story for it. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Birth, life, and death. Tā moko is the art of tattooing, which was usually for men, the face, and the women predominantly wore it on the chin. The moko kauai was introduced at puberty, and it was only given to those of high rank. A person's moko, or moko on a carving, was your signature. Someone looking at the person who was wearing a moko straight away understood their genealogy, what line they come down through on the mother and the father's side, whether they were well versed in warfare, whether they were great orators. I still hold great value to it, and I think it is being bandied about so easily as a fashion statement, as a design statement today, with people not fully realising what they have and what they possess. I'm going to make up a moko for her, and it's going to be one of beauty. Everybody's faces are different, the contours are different, so you have to design to the person's face, and a sculpture or po is no different. Moko kauai for women carry a specific design, and it's usually from their tribe or their iwi. It would be better for me to carve something from my whakapapa or genealogy that my ancestors before me have used, rather than to copy it off somebody else from another tribe, because that way you're safer, and that way there's no arguments. If you look closely at the design, it actually looks like two manaya facing away or facing into each other. Manaya are bird-like figures, but they're also what we call, I guess, sliders into the spiritual realm and both the physical realm. Carving is part of my identity. There are lots of young Māori out there today who feel they have to wear a tattoo or tā moko to depict who they are. I guess it's because I do the carvings, that's what makes me Māori. I know exactly who I am and where I come from. Paua is an abalone shell. It's something that's found around the shores of New Zealand. It was a beautiful shell to begin with. It reflected every colour of any eye. In the dark, they still shimmered, in the moonlight. It represented so many different things. A lot of Māori women, they assimilate it to the womb. Cute. Carving in art it's my passion now. It comes easily and it comes naturally. And it's what I can do till the day I die. There's no retirement age. I enjoy all of it, from start to finish. For me, it's therapeutic. It's something that I can go and do to take my mind off of things and be creative all at the same time. You get rewarded with a beautiful piece of artwork. When I started carving Hine, I didn't see what it was going to look like from the beginning. I just began to carve, so I was able to put my own feeling about who she was and what she looked like into the carving. Sometimes you'll end up with a one-off when you least expect it. I've created what I needed to for the story that I'm telling. When I have an exhibition, I like to try and show something that nobody else has done. It's a chance to celebrate what I've just finished with Hine, the po, and see what sort of reaction comes about. There has been a great renaissance in Māoridom for reviving the culture, and I'm pleased to say that I'm an integral part of that. Carving Hine and all the other traditional pieces that I carve, these pieces are going to be around for, well after I'm gone, and will be recorded as part of Māori tradition.
The last of our artefacts handmade in the Pacific next Monday at the earlier time of 7:30. Next tonight on BBC4, escaping the cold of Europe, Fieldfare flock to the Black Mountains. We're in the Brecon Beacons with Yolo Williams.